All right, as I said before, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are thrilled to have you to talk a little bit about the Office of Academic Achievement Programs. We do have a small group, so I'm looking forward to a nice, intimate conversation for opportunity for you guys to get any questions you have answered. I will invite you, if at all possible, to turn your cameras on if you're able to do so. We're going to play a nice little icebreaker, and it'll be that much more fun if we can see each other. So please consider turning your cameras on and joining us as Elise gets us started with an icebreaker. Elise, if you'd like to introduce yourself, tell our students your year and major, and then go ahead and jump right in.
Hi, my name is Elise Thompson. I'm one of the social justice interns for the Office of Academic Achievement Programs. I'm a third-year student here in Stockton, and I'm a hospitality, tourism, and event management major. All right, so this is a game called I Think You Mean. And since we have such a small group, let me just preface it by saying we're going to have to go a couple times each, okay? So this game's called I Think You Mean. So the game leader, me, is going to start off the group with a word, and I'm going to define a rhyming word instead of the word that I actually said. So like the example I have here is bat, a little thing you stand on. So then the next person will say, I think you mean, and then they'll correct the last player by guessing what they actually meant when they defined the word. And then they would continue by defining a different rhyming word. So if I say bat, a little thing you stand on, that next person will be, I think you mean a mat. A bat is something you get when you permanently draw on yourself. And then you would just continue in that fashion until everybody goes, or in this case, until everybody goes a few times. So to start, how about a bug is this little thing that you sip out of with a handle.
I'll start. I think you mean mug. Okay, now I got to come up with one. So, a hat is something you use to hit a ball with in baseball.
I think you mean a bat.
Yeah.
A log is something that barks and has paws.
I think you mean dog. Okay. Clearer is something that you look at yourself to perfect your appearance.
I think you mean a mirror. Bean is a color.
You got it, girl.
Anybody?
There's only one more person that hasn't gone. I'm trying to make them go.
Relinda, what do you think he means? No pressure. Well, I think you mean green. All right. Well, we certainly won't force anyone to go. This was just an opportunity for us to kind of get to know each other, or get comfortable with each other rather, before we jump into some additional content for the session. Thank you, Elise. Elise is the icebreaker queen, and this is my favorite icebreaker that she does. So thank you for bringing that to us this afternoon. Now that we've broken the ice a little bit, we're going to transition to a brief PowerPoint that I have prepared for you all. And then Janine is going to share a little bit about her experience at Stockton. And then we'll open up the floor for any questions that you all might have for us. All right, so as you know, you have joined us this afternoon for a session on advancing equity in academic achievement. My name is Dr. Johnson, and I serve as the Director of Academic Achievement Programs, as well as the Chair of First Ospreys, which is Stockton's first generation student retention initiative. Okay. So the reason we are talking this afternoon is to talk about what it is that this office is purposed in doing. The reason why the Office of Academic Achievement Programs exists is because there are gaps in achievement. What I mean by that is there are differences with regards to how well students do across race ethnicity. So what I'm showing you are some percentages, and you'll notice specifically among African American and Latinx students, their retention rates tend to be lower than their counterparts, okay? So again, this slide is just to give you a feel as to why this office even exists and why we do the work that we do, which I'll be explaining more in subsequent slides, okay? So you'll see here from the fall 18 cohort, for example, our white students are being retained at a percentage of 84.3% compared to our African American students at 77.5%. And our Latinx students at a 79.2%. It is important for me to note that Stockton is still doing very well as far as its retention rates. Our retentions as an institution is higher than the average. And so it's certainly still very good retention rates, but the fact still remains that there are some differences across race ethnicity that we don't want to be there, right? We want to address these things so that all our students, regardless of race, are all doing just as well on the various measures of academic performance. All right, and so what we do in the Office of Academic Achievement Programs can be explained to you in this brief pyramid. So on the bottom, the foundation of what we do is try to establish or advance an understanding of the systemic causes of those equity gaps. So basically, in the first slide, you saw that there's differences in retention rates, and there's, what I didn't show you also is that there's also differences in graduation rates, right? So the first thing we do in this office is help our community, the entire Stockton community, understand what are some of the causes related to that. Not causes that are specific to the student, but causes that are systemic in nature, okay? We do that by hosting, planning, and promoting a number of racial justice initiatives. So racial justice initiatives is at the foundation of what we do here in the office. And the goal is to use these racial justice initiatives to better, to see better rates across all our students, okay? How we do this is what you see in the middle. How we do this is by advancing an understanding of high impact practices. So high impact practices, I'm going to talk about them in a subsequent slide, but this is basically, through my office, the answer to the problem. So if the problem is the fact that there are gaps in academic achievement across students of color, then the answer in my office is high impact practices, which again, we'll talk about in a moment. The tippity top of the pyramid addresses who are we working for? Who is getting the results of these high impact practices? And these are, of course, you all, our students, right? So our students, specifically in this office, the First Ospreys Retention Initiative is housed within the Office of Academic Achievement Programs. So that's specifically the students that we focus on the most. But students of color, in addition, are also served within these services as well, okay? So I know this might be a bit to swallow, but essentially what you need to gather is we're working to solve an issue across equity. We're doing that with high impact practices, and we're doing that in order to better serve our students. So this slide is just to give you some idea of how we do these different things. So in advancing racial equity, what we do is host a series of educational as well as transformative events on campus that are for the entire community. Faculty, staff, and students all come to these events. The one on the right-hand side was in the fall. The one on the left is actually happening right now, okay? So we are very, very excited to note that, you know, Stockton's response to a lot of the socio-political events that were happening last summer was to support our communities of color, all right? And one of the ways in which we do that is through my office, through these racial justice initiatives that you see listed here. These are some of the things that we talk about in these different spaces. So within the different sessions or events rather that I showed you on the previous slide, we have faculty members and administrators come out to talk about the issue of race and equity and how it impacts us within the context of college, right? So these are some of the things we talk about in that conversation led by both faculty, your professors in the classroom, and administrators. So earlier I talked about high impact practices. I said the answer to the issue of equity gaps through my office is high impact practices. So this slide is basically telling you what that is. And you'll hear me refer to them as HIPs from this point forward. Basically, these are things like internships, study abroad, the types of things that you absolutely want to take advantage of from the very beginning of your college career. And I'm going to play a video for you in a few minutes that's going to really solidify this whole thing for you, and hopefully encourage you to get involved in these practices when you get to Stockton. Okay. So the literature says that there are teaching and learning practices that are beneficial for students, but in order to kind of make it a little bit more concrete for you guys, what we're talking about are things like internships, are things like study abroad, service learning, and the types of things that make your college experience more than just going to class and coming home, or going to class and going back to your dorm every day. Basically, they make your experience a whole lot more meaningful. They also, in addition to making it more meaningful and making it more transformative, they also make you more marketable. So when you get done, you get your degree, you're going to want to get a job, right? And so engaging in high impact practices such as internships and study abroad are the types of experiences that sets you apart when you get to the job market. And I know it may seem like a whole 4 or 5 or 6 years from now, but the earlier you start to prepare, the better, okay? So within the context of high impact practices, these are some of the events that are offered and programs and resources that come out of the Office of Academic Achievement Programs. The first one you see here is the HIPS kickoff event, and this is happening at the start of each semester, and it's an opportunity for students who are unfamiliar with high impact practices to learn all about them in the context of college. So in this one, for example, we had someone come in and talk about study abroad, how you can get financial support to study abroad, how you can get get connected with additional resources to study abroad. We also had someone come in and talk about internships. There's internships you could get for credit, and then there's internships you can do for paid, or sometimes you get neither. You just get the experience, which is just as golden, okay? We also had someone come in and talk about undergrad research, service learning, and some of the other items you see on this first flyer on the left-hand side. So again, I know some of this may seem like, oh, I probably shouldn't be doing that until my 3rd or 2nd year anyways, but again, the sooner you start, the better off you are positioning yourself to be, okay? Some of the other things we do, there are 3 steps to the HIPS model through our office. Education, which happens in this first flyer on the left. Engagement happens on the flyer on the right. So engagement is the opportunity to actually do it, actually do an internship, and actually do a study abroad experience or whatever it is. So we set you up with a mentor if you are interested, a HIPS Achieve mentor who's basically there to help you complete internship applications or an application to study abroad, whatever it is. You don't have to do it by yourself. We have graduate students who are current grad students at Stockton that want to help you walk you through this process. So during our HIPS Achieve Mentor events, we bring you opportunities that are currently available. So in our last one, about 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Washington program, the Washington DC internship program. And we have someone who's currently doing that come in and tell you what they're doing and how it's transforming in their student experience. And then you have your mentor. So if you decide to do that, they can walk you through the process. They can help you apply and actually assist you the entire way. Okay. So we have education, engagement, and my favorite part, celebration. So we believe in celebrating our students who are doing exceptionally well. When we come across those students who are helping to bridge those gaps in academic achievement, meaning they have exceptionally high GPAs, or they've really been involved in high impact practices, or they are really instrumental in bringing their peers into engaging in high impact practices. We want to recognize those students. We want to celebrate them, and we want to support them in future endeavors. So we are starting off this semester, for the first time ever, the inaugural Equity in Academic Achievement Dinner and Fundraiser. This is particularly exciting because this is your opportunity to meet other faculty and staff members and alumni who experienced some of the same things that you're experiencing in college, right? So when we talk about equity in academic achievement, we're talking about those underrepresented groups of students, first-gen students or students of color, or even low-income students who have some systemic barriers to success, okay? Those are the types of students that we are looking forward to celebrating in this event. So these are the three primary components of the office. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you some of the HIPs that we've spotlighted over the last 2 semesters. So in the fall, we focus on the social justice intern, which was recently established in the fall. And as I mentioned earlier, Elise is one of our first social justice interns. The Open Gate application is a study abroad to Greece that students can go to without paying almost anything. What you come out of pocket with is $200 or less to go to Greece. It is a phenomenal experience. And again, I'm going to be sharing a video with you later that touches on this specific opportunity. But these are the types of opportunities that come out of this office. There was also, for the first time in the fall, the establishment of the Mentor Project, which connects students of color with alumni who can serve as mentors as they navigate the career exploration process. Okay, so the Mentor Project is mentorship specifically as a student navigates the career exploration and education process. On the left-hand side, what you see are some percentages as to what students are most interested in. This is just to give you an idea of where the campus is with regards to what students want to do. Most of our students are interested in internships and study abroad opportunities. So in addition to high impact practice, our office also offers opportunities to get money to engage in these HIPS opportunities. One of the ways in which we do so is through the Board of Trustees Fellowship for Distinguished Students. This is a fellowship opportunity that gives students up to $1,000 to complete a research or creative project that they want to. So this is not something you have to do for a class or anything you're required to do. But let's say you are a student majoring in the sciences and you're interested in, doing your own research project. If you're in the psych department, perhaps you want to explore the impact of child abuse on mental health, right? You can do that with the assistance of a faculty member, and you will get up to $1,000 to do that, because these are the types of high impact practices that we want our students to engage in, okay? All right, the other component of my office. So far we've talked about the bottom portion, the Racial Justice Initiative that provides a foundation for the office. We've subsequently talked about high impact practices, which is how we address those racial equity gaps. And now we get to talk about the students who we support with these opportunities. And these students not only include First Ospreys, but first generation students are housed within the Office of Academic Achievement Programs. So the First Ospreys initiative is a retention program for first gen students. So raise your hand. You can use your Zoom reactions if you'd like. Raise your hand if you are a first gen student, meaning you are the first in your family to go to college. That's me too. So Danielle and I are both first gen, and Janine, and Sierra and Belinda, if you are also first gen, we welcome you into the fold of First Ospreys. It is basically a community in which you get to know other people who also don't have parents that's been through this college experience, right? So sometimes if you don't have a mom or dad who's gone to college, you might have some questions about the college experience that you don't quite know who to ask, right? This is what First Ospreys is here for. This is what we're all about. In addition to that, we also offer scholarships for first gen students specifically. We offer different programs and events that cater to the needs of first gen students. And we have a host of faculty and staff members who are a part of the initiative because they were first gen when they were here on campus, or simply because they want to support this population. So more information about First Ospreys, as well as everything I've shared before, can be found on our website. And I'm going to be dropping that in the chat before we leave today, so you can find that if you're interested. Just to give you a little bit more information, this flyer represents some of the typical programs and events that are hosted by First Ospreys. We strive to support, prepare, and celebrate our students. So you'll see those words above each of our events. And basically what it's indicating is that those events specifically focus on support or preparation or celebration, right? So the support one, for example, you'll see Fall in Love with College Finance. And that's the first event we did this semester. And that provided students with information and resources for how to get internal, so scholarships that are at the institution, and external college funding, okay? From scholarships to loans and otherwise. We basically had some of our partners from the Office of Financial Aid and the university's foundation come in and talk about where you can find all these opportunities. You also see other things such as our upcoming event. Our next event is slated for April 8th, and it is a grad prep event. So you will hear from faculty members and grad students alike who can talk to you about how to prepare for grad school if that's something that you're interested in. And then finally, the last one I'll spotlight is the First Gens Will Achieve event, which recently passed and was an opportunity to celebrate first generation students who are doing exceptionally well academically. One of our students actually had a 4.0 GPA who spoke during that event. And you get to hear from students who are doing well, so you can learn what are some of the tips that you can engage in to do just as well also. Okay, so this brings us to the end of my PowerPoint. Thank you for listening thus far. I'm going to stop sharing screen and reshare to show you a brief video on why engaging in high impact practices can potentially change your life. Give me just a moment. Give your attention to this video at this time. Can you hear it?
Everyone. My name is Megan.
Can you hear it? Awesome.
And I'm a senior here at Stockton University, studying Greek and archaeology. And I just wanted to speak with you for a few moments about traveling abroad and the endless possibilities that it brings. Okay, so I started studying here at Stockton in the fall of 2016. And my plan originally was to become a nurse. I had already had experience working in hospitals, and nurses make very good money, and it just seemed like a logical step. It just seemed like the right thing to do. But if I'm being honest with you, it wasn't in my heart. I don't believe I truly wanted to do it. It just seemed like something that I should do. And as a freshman here, one of my courses was a class called The Worlds of Homer. And it was taught by Professor David Rosell. The class was very interesting. It involved the cultures of ancient Greeks and the poetic traditions that inspired them. It included, amazing stories like the Iliad and the Odyssey, and Trojan horses, and these amazing war battles. It was very interesting. I loved the course. After writing my final paper, I was posed with a question by the professor if I had ever been abroad. And then he asked me a question that I don't think I ever thought anyone would ever ask me. He asked me if I was interested in going to Greece and Cyprus. I had never even heard of Cyprus, and Greece seemed like a world away. So many negative things popped up in my mind. I don't have the money. I've never been on an airplane. I don't have a passport. How is that possible? And so, of course, I said no. The question was almost like a shock to my system. Like, why would he even ask me that? But he was steadfast and continued to ask me. And so I finally told him that I didn't have the money and that it was impossible. But then he informed me that I didn't need the money and that Stockton would provide it and that all I would have to do was just go. And that seemed impossible. But I said yes, which was probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And I got on a plane, and 10 hours later, we landed in Athens. There I was with 3 other students in Athens. It seemed unbelievable, like it was like a dream that I couldn't wake up from. I was looking at buildings, structures, statues, places, things that I had only seen in history books, things that I'd only read about. I was physically there, touching and looking at them. It was incredible. It was life-changing. After returning to the United States, I found myself in a fantasy of still being there. I wanted all of those memories of all of the places I had visited. I still wanted them to stay with me. I wanted to go back. I wanted to keep going back. And I wanted to bring other students with me. I wanted them to experience what I had experienced. And I was just so lucky because Professor Rosell felt the same way that I did. The memories that I brought back with me from Greece were so vivid. They were so clear in my mind. And I wanted people to know what I had experienced. And it was something that a photograph just couldn't quite do justice. So I began painting my memories, painting them in a way that people would see the colors and the faces and the everything that was around me. So people would understand what I had felt. And before I knew it, I had 16 paintings, 16 of them. And a year later, I was invited back to Greece. Who would have thought? Me going back to Greece. They asked me if I wanted to exhibit my paintings. Other people wanted to see them too. Other people wanted to experience the experience that I had too. Before I knew it, I was living in Cyprus. My artwork was featured in international exhibitions. And every time I say that out loud, I still can't believe that it's me that I'm talking about. That was 4 years ago. It's been 4 years. Since then, I've traveled to 6 or 7 other countries. I take students with me now, traveling at least 3 times a year. We go to Greek universities. We meet Greek students. We attend conferences. We participate in workshops and activities, and we make lifelong friends. In a way, I've sort of become a citizen of the world. And I started to realize that students like myself don't get opportunities like that very often. But I wanted students like myself to be citizens of the world as well. And it bothers me that something as simple, something as frivolous as money is standing in the way of that. You're probably wondering, why am I telling you this? I'm saying this to you because of how close I came to missing this opportunity, of how close I came to just falling in line, slipping through the cracks, just doing what was expected of me. I'm saying this to you because I don't want you to make the same mistake that I almost made. Here at Stockton, I don't ever want you to think that something is impossible, that a goal is unattainable, unreachable. I come to you now with my horizons broadened, having learned more about myself than I ever imagined, having learned more about the world than I ever imagined. And I encourage you now to do the same thing. Broaden your horizons. Please take any and all opportunities that Stockton has to travel. And who knows, you may just change your life. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed that video as much as I enjoy it every time I watch it. Megan's story is truly transformative. I've worked with Megan for the last 2 semesters, and she is truly transformed as a result of that experience. She went and she came in wanting to be a nursing major. Got exposed to a new world through study abroad, changed her major, and now she's going on to Harvard for work in the arts and humanities that she never even considered doing. She's going to be an anthropologist. And that's not something that she even remotely considered prior to becoming exposed to, some additional opportunities through study abroad. So I hope that video encouraged you to engage in high impact practices such as study abroad. But we certainly invite you to take advantage of other opportunities as well. So with that, I'm going to turn things over briefly to Janine, who's going to share a little bit with you about her experience at Stockton, why she chose Stockton, why she continues to remain here. And then I'm going to open the floor up for questions from you all. Janine?
Thank you. Hi. When I was first applying to college, number one, I wasn't really sure if I even wanted to go to college. And that was something that was like a really big challenge for me. But when I went to apply for Stockton, Stockton is very like active in this area and very well known. Like Stockton's kind of like a household name, like in this area of Jersey. And I was like, you know what, like it's here. Like I know people who go here, like, like a comfortable, like kind of like, I guess, vibe. So when I was going to apply, there's people like every step of the way that are like willing to help you, like whatever questions and whatever like difficulties you may be having with even just the initial application process. Like there's somebody there that's going to help you, and that's like or if they can't, like there's always like resources like ready for you. So like I didn't apply anywhere else, number one, but when I got accepted to Stockton, I knew I was going to stay. Like when I was first applying, I was like, oh, maybe I won't even go to college. But when I got accepted, I was like, well, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna do what I need to do. And even now, when I think about like why I'm still here, it's because like everywhere I turn, like there's somewhere that's gonna have resources for you. One thing I did that one mistake I made my freshman year was only looking for resources inside of my particular major. I'm a psychology major, by the way, but that's not how it has to be. Like there's many people here that are willing, that are able, and even if they're not able, they're willing to get you the resources you need to be able to succeed while you're here at Stockton. And I think that this sense of community is something very important and something that maybe isn't really comparable to other colleges. That's what I really appreciate about Stockton.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. Janine, tell us what year you're in. I forgot to have you introduce that component of you.
This is my third year. I'm a junior.
All right, thank you. So Janine is a junior psychology major. You guys are privileged to have three wonderful students on the Zoom. So I'm going to open up the floor for any questions that you might have for us. I'm happy to answer any questions about anything that I presented this afternoon or any questions about Stockton in general. But again, you also have three students if you have any questions for students specifically. Feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat if you're more comfortable with that.
Hi, good afternoon. Oh, my picture is there. Let me move that. As you can see, I know like I put this here and then I don't need it, so it looks a little weird. As you can see, I'm actually the parent. I can't move it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me figure out how I could like look here. Okay, so I'm the parent. I wanted to apologize earlier. You guys were playing the game, and I was like, "Wait a minute, did she call my name?" At some point, I got kicked out of the Zoom meeting. But
Oh,
I just
that's okay.
I just wanted to say this is a really good workshop. I really appreciated this because my son is he's at track practice right now. So he was like, "Can you sit in on some workshops for me?" I said,
Oh,
I will most certainly do that. And while he is not a first generation student, I was, um, he is a student with where he would be utilizing some of the resources as he had an IEP when he was in school. And so I don't know, I really do like the vibe that I'm getting from Stockton, everything that I see that you guys are offering. Um, and I don't know. We are not from that region of New Jersey. We are from North Jersey, and I am really impressed. Even in my professional life, there are some classes and some training that Stockton offers, and I'm like, hey, this is a school to really pay attention to. So I appreciate like I said, having a workshop like this because this is really important. This is things that people don't think about in terms of the retention rate. Very important overall. You'll see it in terms of a school, but specific to minorities, which can be a very different number. You don't see that. So like I said, I'm probably repeating myself, but I really do appreciate everything and all of the information that was offered today. And I was actually on another session with Miss Thompson. I believe you were a part of that session, and like I said, I appreciate everything you did in that session as well as here. So we're looking to visit, and I'm hoping we can, make a decision sooner than later.
Awesome.
But
Well, I'm so
that,
glad that you were able to join us. That
yeah.
Stockton is definitely moving and shaking. And one of the things about the retention rates, for example, right now, the institution is so transparent that if any random person went on our website and accessed the institutional research, you can find all that data on your own. Everyone, you can find data about our equity gaps. because we're acknowledging where we are and we're actually trying to do something about it. My office that I presented on this afternoon is actually brand new. This office and this approach to equity is something that was developed just last fall, because we recognize these numbers, yeah, they're creeping, they're getting a little bit better, but the fact is these discrepancies are still there and it's not okay. So what can we do to address that? And the institution put their money where their mouth is, developed a whole new office to address this, along with a number of other initiatives as well. So it's definitely a growing place, one that I'm excited to be at. I've been at Stockton since 2019. And just the growth that I've seen in that short period of time is very exciting. So we'd be happy to have you guys if you decided to come this way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Sierra, is there anything that we can answer for you? No pressure if not.
Hi, thank you. I have no questions. They were all pretty much answered with the previous workshops that we've also done yesterday and the day before and today. So thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Well, it was a pleasure meeting the two of you. We hope to see you if you choose to make Stockton your home or that of your child's. We hope to connect with you. Feel free to reach out if you have questions as you're considering all your options and, weighing the pros and cons and such. We're happy to continue talking with you as you make your final decision.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you
You're
so
very
much.
welcome.
And you guys take care.
You too. Have a wonderful
Have a good day.
afternoon.
Good day.
You too.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.